A supply chain approach. My name is Matthew Younger. I have a BA in finance and an MBA. I am interested in how to solve the problems in the U.S. on the supply chain. The problem in this case, the Affordable Care Act is opposing a 2.3% excise tax on MTC Corporation. In order for the company to keep the same net income, the corporation needs to cut 2.3% of costs from its current supply chain. The board of directors and investors do not want to see this new tax eat into profitability of the corporation. Executive summary. I propose the board and management team eliminates trunk stock from the sales force and strictly enforces a more strict inventory control system. I also recommend that sterilization of surgical kits be done in-house at the production facility in order to eliminate transportation costs. This move will also help reduce the time required to produce a surgical kit. Finally, the company is holding way too much inventory. From what I see, it's probably 6 months worth of inventory. I suggest that the company idles production facilities for at least 6 weeks in order to reduce current inventory. We need to scale down inventory before we ramp up production again. Our holding costs are out of control here. MTC has a slightly dysfunctional supply chain. That they prefer to hold large quantities of inventory, which I talked about in the previous slide. Possible supply chain issues: holding costs of inventory, third-party contract sterilization of surgical kits, transportation costs of inventory, and etc. Explanation of earnings. This is what has really got the board and the shareholders upset. Investors only really care about what we call net income. That's what we have left after we subtract total income. Then you have your cost of goods sold, and then your taxes and everything, and you get down to net income available to common stockholders. When you watch on CNBC and you see earnings report, they're referring to net income. So this is a big concern because a new tax has been exercised by the federal government, which is going to eat into their net income. So if shareholders expect a net income to grow each year, positive net income growth and a company stock are highly correlated. This is why the board and executive team are worried about that tax, and which could lower net income available to common stock. The distribution center. MTC used a strange form of distribution. They use a main warehouse, then they ship to regional distribution centers, then to the customers. Right there, that's just strange because most corporations like to use a large warehouse and then like a pinwheel send it out to different customers and the like. This method that the company is using is very costly. It adds transportation because we've got to transport to the central warehouse, then to the regional warehouse, and then to the customers. So it's just adding extra cost to transport that's not needed. The medical sterilization kits. The company uses both in-house and contractors to sterilize their medical equipment. The case states that when using a vendor to sterilize equipment, they're required to ship the kit to the vendor. That's one transportation. Then the vendor sterilizes the medical equipment, and they send it back to the production facility for MTC to do a quality check. So now we have just created 2 points where trucks have to go back and forth, which could be eliminated. Those trucks use very costly fuel, which could help decrease the cost that we're looking to decrease here. This whole process adds transportation trips to the hauling of trucks in the process. I suggest that MTC does all medical device sterilization in-house to eliminate this transportation cost. Risk. MTC will have to retool their plants to do all the medical sterilization in-house. This will lead to a long-run savings, but it could cause a sunk cost up front, meaning a cost that you have to just basically take in order to get long-term savings. Real strange one here with this company is trunk stock. I understand the need for it, but I think it needs to be eliminated. Having sales reps with trunk stock, there's really very little control on that. And this would reduce holding costs of inventory and could lead to huge potential savings. Inventory reduction would lead to cost savings and labor savings. While plants are idled, employees can file for either temporary unemployment or be redeployed to other operations temporarily until we get some of that inventory down and we're able to restart those plants. Contingencies. My plan does have risk, especially in the area of medical device sterilization. One contingency plan would be to find a less expensive contractor to sterilize the surgical kits and have a quality control inspector at the contractor site. The reason for this is going to eliminate transportation back to the original plant, and it would save some transportation costs. This way, the contractor could ship out directly from the site. If there was pushback from sales reps about the elimination of trunk stock, then we could give a fixed amount of units, let's say 5 or 10 units for their trunk, and the salesman would not be allowed to get any additional units until they have accounted for all sold trunk stock. That would just put some accountability on the sales reps. There are risks here, but aggressive cost-cutting measures that I've mentioned can reduce 2.3% of costs from the supply chain.